point, maybe second, third game of the season, and I pitch a game, and I didn't know at the time, but Whitey came to watch, and I pitch. There's no pitch counts back then. Nobody cares, and I throw 6, 7 innings, whatever. We win the game, and we're standing on the field after. And you kind of knew when Whitey was in the park because a lot of the parents would go over with their kids and get him to sign balls, and he never missed a beat. He'd stay there until the park closed if that's what it took to say hi to everybody. So, I could tell he was there by the folks gathering behind, and then a couple minutes later, he actually walks on the field, and he walks up to me and introduces himself. And at this point, you're in such shock that Whitey Ford is coming to talk to you that, you can barely process what he's saying. You're thinking about what am I going to say back? But I can kind of sum it up where he starts asking me questions. He's like, you pitch really well. I like how you did this. I like how you did that. And then, maybe 5 minutes in, he says, what high school do you play for? Like, where else do you play baseball? And I was like, this is it. I've never put on a uniform outside of Floral Park Little League, like in my life. So then we start talking about where I go to school and like why I'm not playing baseball. So it's maybe a 10-minute conversation, and he walks away. He's like, oh, nice to meet you. I'll see you at the next game. So probably a week or so later, I show up to my high school. So my high school did summer camps in sports. So I showed up to basketball camp. And at that point, at that age, the guys that were my age, you're volunteering to help the younger kids, right? So you're not competing anymore, but you go down because you want to be around Coach Curran. You want to get him to know at least your name, what you look like, and all that stuff. I'll never forget. I was sitting on the stage in the gym. They're getting all the kids ready. They're doing registration and all this stuff. And he goes, "You're James Lally." And I'm like, "Oh my God, like Jack Curran knows my name. Like this is the greatest day ever, right?" He's like, "I actually got a phone call from somebody, and he said you're going to be trying out for me in the fall for baseball." And I'm like, who could have called you? I was like, I know it's not my dad. So he goes, yeah, I heard you met him, and he called me after he said you pitched really well. Whitey Ford called me and said, you got a kid at your school, and I'm telling you, he's playing the wrong sport. What just happened? Like, Whitey Ford sees me pitch a little league game, calls my high school coach and says, hey, you got to come play. So I remember telling my parents, Coach Curran came and talked to me today and tell them the story. And they're like, are you going to try out? And I was like, how could I not? Like I still don't think I'm any good. I remember my parents saying like, if he thinks you can do it, and that means a lot. When you have an opportunity, something gets sparked, or you take the chance. Just take the chance. What's the worst thing that can happen? I remember Coach telling me I made the team, calls me into his office, and Whitey was one of the first people I called and said, this would have never, I never would have even tried out. The thought would have never crossed my mind to try out if you didn't do what you did. And I think back to that all the time, and it's one of the reasons I got into coaching was to use this game to try to help kids be more confident in who they are. Because again, I'm this 15-year-old kid who doesn't think he's worth anything, and then you got a Hall of Famer saying, "Hey, I think you could do this." And